Remake is almost a curse word in Hollywood circles, as so many of them appear to be cheap cash grabs that are lacking in creativity and failing to live up to the original. In 2003, Marcus Nispel handed his beer off to somebody else and basically said, "Watch this." So let's cut into the remake of the 1974 classic, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So we don't go with an opening scroll here. Instead, we do get a narrator, and that narrator just so happens to be Mr. John Larroquette of Night Court fame. He's the exact same guy that narrated the 1974 edition, and he's perfect here. We get police footage, though, and it's exploring the basement where we see claw marks, fingernails, chunks of hair embedded in the wooden slats in the walls. Really good way to open a horror movie. Sweet Home Alabama courses through our speakers as we get a chance to meet this amazing young cast next. Erin is played by Jessica Biel, and she's riding shotgun to her boyfriend Kemper in a van headed to a Lynyrd Skynyrd concert. Joining them are their friends Morgan and Andy, and a hitchhiker they picked up some miles back named Pepper. Now, Pepper has taken a liking to Andy, and they spend the better part of this movie trying to chew on one another's tonsils. Perhaps a little jealous of the affection going on the back of the van, Erin sneaks a kiss from Kemper, and when they look up from their loving lip lock, they almost hit a woman walking aimlessly down a dirty gravel road. Erin and Pepper run to her to check on her, because even though she almost got hit by a van, she doesn't seem fazed. She's in a very distraught state, and they eventually lead her back to the van, convincing her that they're there to help. Once this girl's seated in the back of the van, she just sobs. She just cries relentlessly, and the rest of the kids just look at her wondering what must have happened to this girl to get a reaction like that. They then pass a meat packing company, and the girl loses it. She says, "I can't go back there. I don't want to go back there. He's a bad man. He's a very, very bad man." Then she produces a gun from between her legs.
Oh, shit. You're all gonna die.
The way they shot this next scene with the kids screaming as we see them through the back of her head and then the smoke pouring out from her mouth, really gripping the way that they did that. Justifiably upset at what just took place in front of them, the kids are in that oppressive Texas heat looking for somebody to help them. They stumble upon a gas station and inquire about a sheriff, to which eventually the lady behind the counter does call someone, and this person that she calls, presumably the sheriff, asks them to meet him out at the old Crawford Mill, which is a little suspect. Why not a hospital? Why not a police station? The kids, though, they just want somebody to deal with this situation. So eventually they agree to meet him out there. Now, if you could imagine a creepy trinket made from personal belongings, it was probably out there at this mill. And the kids see it, they hear noises, it's a very suspicious location. They eventually happen upon a little boy who looked like he hadn't bathed since birth. And the little boy seems to know the sheriff, because when they ask him about the sheriff, the kid says, "Yeah, I know him. He's probably back at home getting drunk." This doesn't sit well with the kids, and they insist upon going to the sheriff's house to bring his attention to this matter. Erin and her boyfriend Kemper decide to go to this house that the little boy directs them to, leaving Pepper, Morgan, and Andy behind with the van and the body. Now, this house that they found to film this movie in is remarkable. It looks terrifying. It's out in the middle of nowhere, and it's just this dilapidated, old, creaky, creepy, dirty-looking mansion, but it's massive. I mean, it looks really impressive in this movie. A legless guy in a wheelchair comes to the front door to answer when Erin knocks. She insists on using the phone because they find out that's not actually the sheriff's house, but the guy inside the house knows where the sheriff is. Erin goes inside to call. The old man doesn't want Kemper to come in with her. I can't figure out why Kemper would agree to let the lovely Jessica Biel venture inside that house without him, but he does. So while this is happening, the iconic R. Lee Ermey, who's playing Sheriff Hoyt in this movie, shows up at the mill and meets up with Andy, Morgan, and Pepper. Now he's looking over the body. He's asking the kids some questions. He finds the weapon on the floor of the van and asks the kids, where did this gun come from? Andy explains to him that she had it on her, and the sheriff says, "You don't say." Then he puts his foot up on the van and fits the revolver that he finds in the van perfectly into his ankle holster. Very telling, very, very cool scene. Feeling as though his girlfriend has been in this strange house with a strange guy in a wheelchair for far too long, Kemper ventures inside to look for Aaron, and boom, we get our very first scene of Leatherface. Kemper gets attacked from behind as opposed to the shot that Leatherface hits the guy with to the front in the original. He gets dragged away, heavy steel door slammed behind the two of them, just loud enough to alert Aaron. The next scene's kind of a heartbreaker. Leatherface is stringing up Kemper and a ring box falls out of Kemper's pocket. Now, at the very beginning of this movie, Aaron was teasing Kemper about wanting a pretty little tear-cut diamond to go on her pretty little finger, and Kemper assured her that she's going to get that ring someday. And here we have it. Right as Kemper's in his most helpless of states, Leatherface picks it up, looks at it, and chucks it off to the side. Real bummer. Now back at the mill, the kids know something's wrong when they find a jar with some sort of liquid in it and the picture of the girl that they picked up on the side of a road. It's in the back of an abandoned car at the mill, and they know they need to leave. They know they can't be there. Something's not right. They can't leave without Kemper, though. Aaron and Andy head back to the house, and then once they're inside looking for Kemper, that gigantic steel door slides open, chainsaw revs up, and we've got Leatherface very pissed off to have some more house guests. Aaron books it back to the mill. Andy takes off through the backyard in a chilling chase through some bed sheets that are hung out there to dry. Doesn't quite get away. Aaron, however, does make it back. Pepper and Morgan have no idea what's going on. They just know that Aaron's erratic and frantic and needing to get away. She's trying to start the car, and bam, we get the menacing Sheriff Hoyt back in our faces. The scene where he makes Morgan reenact what this girl they found on the side of the road did to herself is so uncomfortable. It's fantastically uncomfortable because R. Lee Ermey in this role is a natural. He should have been in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from the very beginning. He instantly would make any sequel that much better.
Kill me right now. Get out of here scot-free, couldn't you?
Mort, please.
He shoots me! You're accomplice to murder!
Hoyt takes off with Morgan, presumably back to the big, gross, disgusting mansion. Pepper and Aaron are then attacked at the mill by Leatherface. Now, Aaron looks up only to see that Leatherface is wearing the transplanted face of her boyfriend while he's attacking them with a chainsaw. So in what can be described as another callback, Aaron gets away from this attack to seek refuge in a trailer with a bunch of people who are sort of in on the whole thing. And Aaron gets drugged, and before you know it, she is drugged back to the Hewitt house. Now, maybe I didn't mention this earlier, but they're not Sawyers anymore, they're Hewitts, and it's not Bubba, it's Thomas Hewitt is the other name Leatherface is known by. Pretty commonly known that Leatherface is mentally stunted, and in this movie I thought there was such a great scene where he's chasing after two different kids, and he gets into a house with them, and then he turns the chainsaw off. And the reason he does that is because he wants to hear for every shortness of breath. He wants to hear for every gasp. He wants to hear every floorboard creak. He wants to see if he can figure out where these kids are stashed away. I thought that was really clever. In Erin's final attempt to get away in this movie, she ends up back at the meat plant that freaked out the girl from the road so badly at the very beginning of this movie. I thought that was a really good thing to harken back to, was this meat plant. And it's hard to say what Leatherface's intentions of turning the sprinklers on in that meat plant were. Jessica Biel's running around in a tight white tank top, so either Leatherface is trying to freeze her out to where he can hear her shivering or her shortness of breath, or he's just a big old perv. Absolutely top shelf ending to this movie. And it's really frustrating that it's so good because I wanted to build off of this movie. I thought that if they did that, they could carry this story on for a really long time. Maybe not with these characters because it's not what horror movies do. This movie's tremendous. It ages gracefully. It's probably my favorite Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Remakes are hard to live up to the originals. It's definitely hard to do it if you're just going to do a shot-by-shot remake. Here they pepper in some of the old stuff with some of their own. 8.5 out of 10. Thing's a banger. Absolutely love it. If you haven't seen it for some weird reason, you should make it a priority to check out Texas Chainsaw Massacre's 2003 edition. This is Aging Gracefully. I'm Matthew Essex. I'll see you on the other side.